My name is Laura Colomb, and I am a 2023 artist resident at the Sam and Adele Golden Foundation for the Arts. I have been living in Florida for about 15 years, and what's really fascinating about that area is that you have this beautiful light from a painter's perspective, that you get to use all the greens, you get to use all the yellows. You fall in love with the lushness of the land, but the land is also really terrifying. You know, you hear all these little rustles next to you, you can't see anything because the scrub is so dense, so it has a menacing quality as well. So that contradiction of beauty and of terror is something that I think is a hallmark of Florida itself. That contradiction and that exploration is something I'm endlessly fascinated by. So one of the things that I decided to do right when I got here prior to the workshops was to really explore the Williamsburg oil line, and so I decided to make a color chart that would show the mass tone and the undertone. Being able to lay out all of the color and see just the slight difference, you know, between this Italian burnt sienna or this Italian terra rossa, and see the difference in how the material itself sits can be really helpful when you're trying to make selections. I work mostly from photographs, and that has to do with the conditions of Florida. So I will walk through the woods looking for a specific light situation or a specific composition, and so I have thousands of photos of the same tree that I'll see on the same walk, you know, throughout the year. But I get to know these characters, and that's what they become in my paintings. These are all paintings in process. What I'm looking for is to create intimate environments, and that's why I like to work small when it comes to some of these oils. Even though these are small, they have a tendency to take every bit as much time as a large painting because you have to rework them again and again and again. This one on the left, there's a richness that the green gold really helps to capture, but also a really rich reflective blue from the sky that you can't really see in this particular composition very easily because of that density of the swamp and how the swamp works. I tend to look for sort of claustrophobic spaces. Some of the things I'm interested in Florida have to do with the water itself and the color. The tannins where I live will often color the water orange. And it creates a really beautiful drama that is a little horror movie, a little just gorgeous lusciousness. And so, you know, it feeds into that dichotomy that I'm looking at of beauty and terror. I think of Florida as a poison garden of Eden. A lot of things can kill you as well as lure you in.
My name's Perky Edgerton, and I'm a 2023 artist resident at the Sam and Adele Golden Foundation for the Arts. This is how I start. I take pictures and then I collage them together. You know, it's not one point perspective, it's kind of tilted a little bit and different angles and so forth. I have a real sense of it being a more subjective kind of space. And then from there, I'll do a drawing. And then I will go to an oil painting. But this was black gessoed paper with interference on top of it of gold and orange. And it was such a gorgeous surface. It sort of reminds me of this kind of dream world. I'm also printing patterns on it with, you see down here, there's a lot of stencils and prints. So it's a lot of layers, which is sort of making a lot of history. There's sort of an understructure below and an overstructure on the actual image. So it's not really completely reality. There's wasps flying around this studio, so I drew a wasp here. I'll make this collage and I can put in pieces of printed paper that I've made. I love this transparent paper. I have worked with this and sometimes pulled it off of the image, and it stays behind and kind of rips, and then I paint on top of that again. I'm trying to make these landscapes feel like they're narrative without having the figure inside of them, so that there feels like a story that's been there. I've always been a figurative painter, and figures, they've always been the power center of the painting. And so taking the figure out, but having a sense that something has passed through that space is what interests me. I've always wrecked my paintings to the point where now I feel like this is the way I paint. I wreck it and then I bring it back, and somehow that gives it gravitas and wretchedness and history and struggle is all through the paint surface. And it makes kind of an incredibly interesting surface. But I'm believing in that process. It just has to go through that for me to feel intimate with that surface. In the end, when I'm just kind of delighting in the moving of the space, push, pull, back, forth of certain things in order to get the kind of feeling and mood I want from the thing, that's delight. That's good.
My name is Dina Abdulkarim, and I am a 2023 artist resident at the Sam and Adele Golden Foundation for the Arts. My work is influenced by my training. I studied architecture and urban design, and I teach city and regional planning. I make aerial views of suburban homes, but I just make them as fragments. I lived my life in very urban settings where people rubbed shoulders, and we spent the summer just in the street, really doing a lot of mischief, but we felt very safe. And then I came here and I was fascinated with how beautiful the suburbs looked, the landscapes and the sidewalks and the flower pots. When I make my compositions, I really want to say that the suburban homes are very elaborate and they're very beautiful, and the landscape is manicured. So my work is very colorful and floral, and that's why I have also a lot of elaborate compositions that depict that quality of the suburban home. So it really gave me the language to express that divide between these two realities. In my recent pieces, just working with the figure through the traditional mosaic way of making pieces, of making a shape. While I'm here, I wanted to explore what it means to just make layers and layers of these, because I want my paintings to have some sculptural qualities. In my newer work, the pieces don't fit together anymore. They just started getting more and more dismantled. And actually, I want to push that, where now they're forced together to shape something. And I'm just exploring the visual language of it. I brought some of my traditional fabric that has gold or sheen that I want to still be able to process the fabric in a way that makes it look painterly. I'm just really attracted to glitter and gold. I had a meeting with the senior fabricator, Ulysses, and it was one of the many highlights of my time here, because I have built this very experiential knowledge about the paint that has absolutely no rootings in theory. It's just all how I feel the paint and how I have witnessed the paint works. And I ask him, how can I achieve this? He'll give me the chemistry behind it, and it makes so much sense. It just really makes the picture come together in really so many aha moments. When I was 18 and I wanted to study art, my parents said, of course not, go be a professional. And then I studied architecture, and then I wanted to study art, and are you serious? Who does that? You're now a professional. At the end, I reached a point where really life became, what's the point if I don't paint?